Hey folks, it's Jeremy Kirkland. You're listening to Blammo. Happy Monday, or whatever day it is that you're listening to this. I don't know, maybe you're a Wednesday person, a Friday, whatever. But we got a new episode, straight out of Paris this week. Mr. Ben Stubbington, the creative director of Arc'teryx Veilance. Oh man, Veilance is Veilance is a brand I've loved for years. They're this perfect combination of minimalism and functionality. It's good stuff. Oh man, it's very killer. So this was a real treat to chat with Ben. But man, we got into it. This was I don't know if my voice sounded a little scraggy. It's early. Hopefully Amar did some nice little EQing on my voice. You'll hear it. It's fine. Ben and I discuss his career in fashion and design, what makes the soul of a brand, the power of good community, his Substack, and more. It's all in there. Off we go.
To start off, thank you for having me in your incredible showroom. It's I've been to my fair share of showrooms this week, and you can always, see the difference where there's a lot of brands that you'll visit and product's great, but then making the entire environment, set for the product, I think is extremely difficult, from, the hardware of the hangers to, the plants, the entire thing. So bravo to you. But it's very fantastic and serene in here.
Thank you. That was our intention.
Yeah.
And so I'm very grateful that you see it that way. And we've been lucky that a lot of people saw it that way. And I think we learned from the showroom we had in June.
Yeah.
Because the showroom we had in June was a much smaller version of this. But when people came in, they told us that they felt calmer once they were in there and once they'd left. And Fashion Week's this chaotic thing where people are bouncing from appointment to appointment. And so our intention with this space was to create something that contrasted that and became a bit of a Zen-like temple for the Temple of Veilance, where people come in and can ground, can really look at the product and feel something other than just racks of clothes. Because to me, the most important thing around clothing design is not just the clothes themselves. It's what is the brand? What is the soul of what we're doing? And with Veilance, it's all about reductive design.
Because to just briefly interrupt, many people they know Arc'teryx and they know Veilance, but understanding the difference between the two, if you could just explain the slight variation between Veilance and Arc'teryx as a whole.
Well, Arc'teryx really solves problems for the mountains, and all the product is built for the specificity of solving problems in the mountains. Mm-hmm. It's adapted into people's streetwear and sportswear, but everything that we design on the mountainside is designed for the mountains, wherever people decide to wear it. So it's all based on high level of innovation, technology, pattern mastery. And on the mountainside, this product could save your life. It's for going into the most extreme situations you could be in. And we've had product that's really helped people in extreme situations. Veilance is the city part of the business. So we focus on product to help people move more easily through the city. So it's design solutions sort of tuned to the rhythms of the city, we call it. And we lean on a lot of the technology, the innovation that we use on the mountainside of the business and bring that into the product that we create. And that makes us super lucky because a lot of people would love to try and make product like we do. Mm-hmm. But because we have this, technical atelier in Vancouver, which is our design center, we can do things that would be pretty impossible to many other people. So Veilance is really about a reductive design principle of creating product that's so stripped back, everything on there is completely built for function and attuned to the body in a way that it feels like it's hugging you.
Yeah, and there's for the record, there's no logos anywhere on any of the, it's a very, very small, tiny, versus like we're in this kind of era of brands that are just extremely loud. It's like Balenciaga slammed across the chest, a fake Dorito bag, whatever it is. And this you have to, the product really speaks for itself in terms of the fit, the design, the insane pattern making, but there's no logos.
I've been pretty lucky in my career to work for
That's true.
a bunch of brands that
Theory, Lulu.
Yeah, it's never been about a logo, and that means you have to be a smarter designer, in my opinion, because you're not selling product based off of the branding.
Yeah.
We are selling our product because it really works, because it looks beautiful, and it solves problems for people. And to me, like, clothing has always been around people really wearing it. Like, to me, costume and just wearing something once or twice, it's not real to me. I'm a real designer, and I get most excited about if I give an old friend a piece and years later they're still wearing it and they bust the hell out of it.
Well, let's jump back, because this isn't your first go round in design, right? You're originally from
England, the south of England.
Yeah. And what was like kind of your first experience of maybe like design or product or even like fashion? Like, what was there? For me, it was music, but I'm just kind of curious.
I'd say a combination of things. Definitely music is a massive part of my life, and still to this day, and was when I was young. I remember, 14 or 15, I had a Hendrix poster on one wall, Purple Haze poster, and Jim Morrison on the other wall.
Okay.
The Eternity Kate Moss ads that I'd ripped out of of the magazines, the Corinne Day pictures, I think they were, on the wall. And, I was in love with her. And I think, England's a really small place, but it breeds such creativity because that confinement of space, you see so much all the time. And music in England was a massive driver and influence for me, because you would be going to a drum and bass club one night and watching LTJ Bookham or Goldie or,
here we go.
all of this stuff happening. When I was at university, I've skipped on to university a little bit.
No, you're good. You're
now. But, I'm showing my age. You'd go see that, but then I'd be like at an indie concert at the same time. I saw Oasis play before they were even signed. So we went out with them that evening afterwards. We sat around a bar chatting with them. And the music scene in England, I think the first concert I ever went to, it was either Teenage Fan Club, Julian and Hatfield 3, and the Posies playing one show, or it was the Manic Street Preachers, long before the Manic Street Preachers became this famous band. They were more of a sort of goth punk band at the time. And I remember being this young kid that sat in the back of a car drinking a bottle of Archers and was smaller than everybody else in the concert, and sort of all these people in leather jackets, like making sure I was safe in this concert.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but for me, it's always like so interesting when I think about like the stuff that pushes me into exploring, art and fashion and design more. It's rarely through the actual designer. It's always through this like cultural movement that points towards it, which is why I'd asked about music, because I think in a weird way, I'm kind of one of those people that I want to work a bit to understand it. Like if you write it in front of me and you hit me over the head with it, I kind of don't want it. But like if you invite me on a journey, and you can like bring me into this world and explore it, and then I learn it on my own, I mean, it really soaks in. And so like, with music, for me, I remember just seeing bands, and I'd be obsessed with, be like, okay, he's got that Les Paul, like, how did he get it? Oh man, his jeans fit like that. Was that on purpose? Was that this? And of course I'm enjoying the music, but I feel like that's so real for so many people now, which is, why we all obsess over street style. And to jump to Veilance, I remember being kind of annoyed I was like, man, that's a really cool coat. I was like, well, it's just black. Like, what is, what does this fit? What does it look like? What is, and then having to like research an hour and a half later and be like, oh, it's this, And so I'm curious, was there like a first piece or product in fashion that for you were like, okay, I think I'm like, I care, you know what I mean? Whether it's like, I don't know, a Stony or something like that pushes you into this world to get deeper.
I guess like I grew up in sort of pretty working class England, and my grandmother, God rest her heart, because she died like a week and a half ago at 101. So,
wow,
you
what
know,
a life.
lots to celebrate.
For you,
but she was a seamstress.
Okay.
And so she was always making clothes around me. And I didn't realize until she just passed away that that was my first entry into fashion, really. Like there were subcultures. So like, you know, you're growing up on the south coast of England, and I thought surfing was really cool, even though I didn't surf at the time.
Exactly.
I do now, but I didn't then. And, you know, I would watch all these different things happening. Music was a massive influence. Watching people, what they're wearing, you know, Ride and the Charlatans and bands like this. And you're like, oh, okay, that was a big influence. But then got into bands like Dinosaur Jr. and sort of that world that like I got obsessed with. But then in England, you're also seeing bands like Left Field, and like there's so many different spectrums of things, which to me is the interesting thing, because I've never been just stuck in one lane. And I think where I've gone with fashion, this more utilitarian sort of feel, is it transcends a specific genre of how you dress, because it's not putting you in one bucket. And I think with what we've been doing with Veilance is trying to build out more of a soul with the brand now, outside of just the product. So Veilance has always made amazing product.
Yeah.
But as we evolve, we're trying to bring those influences actually to the forefront with it. So the campaigns we've shot this year, we've had musicians playing music in our campaigns, in our product. And this week during Fashion Week, we put on a concert on Friday night, which was...
It was in here.
Yeah, it was in here, in this space. It was probably like one of the things that really made me nervous in life. And like, I don't get that nervous, especially around work. I don't get that nervous.
Yeah.
We can talk about things I get nervous about later, and then you know that's a whole nother net. That could be another podcast probably. Yeah. But I was sat at the side watching this concert. These artists called Klaus and Clausen, lead singers from the band Efterklang. But it was
I used to work with those guys, with Rasmus.
Really?
Yeah.
Rasmus has stayed at my house in Venice before.
Oh my God, yeah. So when I worked before AD, I remember those dudes. Sorry, I continue.
My partner, Hedda Woods Broderick, used to be in Efterklang.
Oh my God. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Casper was here playing the lead singer the other night.
I looked at it and I was like, I think I recognize. Damn, I'm so bummed I missed that show.
So it was, I think that we really put ourselves out there by putting this show on, because it was basically a 40-minute improvised cellist, digital setup, and vocalist.
Yeah, for folks who don't know, like I'll put a link to a few of the videos and stuff that I found, but they're making music and then they're looping themselves and then adding on to that, creating a larger and larger sound. It was yeah. I mean, the video stuff that I saw and you showed me, insane. But yeah, I mean, it's two people making the sound of 20.
Yeah, 100%. And I sat at the side of the show with Ali, our PR arm, sat behind me. And half the concert, I'm transcending because it was beautiful in my eyes. Yeah. But like I've indoctrinated myself my whole life into weirdness. And there was definitely an edge of weirdness with this. And then the other half, I'm sitting there going, what are people thinking? And have I just like ruined my career? But,
what?
You know, I remember looking back at Ali at one point and going, I think people are liking this. And I couldn't read her face. And I was like, oh, I don't know what I've just done. But every piece of feedback we've had, someone said to me afterwards, they're like, I was worrying still because I'm worrying about that stuff. Someone said to me afterwards, they're like, well, if they liked it, they liked it. And if they didn't like it, they're thinking about it. So.
Touché. Yeah. I mean, and I think like, especially with art and music and clothes and all these things, like we're in this era now, which is not to sound trite, but it's like everything is just being explained for you and there's no work to it. And it's not that like I want to live in this elitist style world, but it's like if you can chat GPT your way into understanding these things, I feel like there's less of a saturation, because for me, like I was saying at the beginning too, which is, really kind of summarizes Veilance a lot for me, is it requires an effort. No, look, you can have a relationship with art, music in a very single serving, passive way, right? I can go to the Louvre, or I can go to the d'Orsay, and I can see these things and I can just view them. But for me, the joy is always in the pursuit of understanding it, and when I think about, like we were talking about with music, I don't know if you were ever like this, but I remember having friends that were into all these, cool kid bands, right? And I remember this is in the 90s, and my friend's older brother is like, oh man, if you really like music, here's this album called OK Computer. And I was like, I remember listening to it and I didn't understand it, and I couldn't really understand the lyrics and stuff more. But like, to me, still to this day, Radiohead's OK Computer is like the perfect example of when I was like, oh, I have to learn. Like, I have to learn to get this stuff. And so to jump back to what you were, talking about having musicians in here, like, yeah, good. You should. If it doesn't make sense to you, then go figure it out. And we don't need to try to be like, oh, but this is all the things that they did, and you don't understand. He played this weird triad, which only like Bill Evans did or whatever. But it's like, go and enjoy it and just let it wash over you, because otherwise you're going out there and then people are trying to explain everything to you and you're missing it.
Yeah, if you just stay on one simple path, and it gets a little bit boring after a while, because you just see the same trees over and over again. And with music, that's the most exciting thing to me, to be going to see all these different acts. And I was just thinking about like, who have I got? I go and see a lot of bands still, even though I'm 29 now.
Yeah.
And but I was thinking about who I've got tickets to see, and then I was like, The Dirty Three.
Oh wow.
Mount Airy, Lord, Cat Power.
Okay. Quite a spectrum there.
Yeah, like, that's the thing to me that's interesting, is like, I'm just as excited to see things that challenge my norm than just sticking in one genre. And I think that's why growing up in England was really good, because there was so much happening that you actually didn't spend as much time in the past in music, because there was so much going on in culture just around you. And it certainly like involved fashion.
Yeah.
When I was at university, I worked at this really cool store in Brighton. I went to Brighton University, and I worked in this store called Ratio. And Ratio was the coolest clothing store in Brighton. Like, it had Catherine Hamnett, Stone Island, Paul Smith, YMC, when YMC was like a very small independent brand, 6876. Like, it was the cool Helmut Lang.
Okay.
Real Helmut Lang.
Yeah.
Like, and if you think, if you to answer your question in a very long-winded way,
no,
like,
this is great.
A piece that really like turned me on was this. I remember Ratio went bankrupt, right? It was this tiny little store. It was the coolest, still one of the coolest jobs I've ever had. I like got to DJ music, changing CDs all day long. At 4:00, we'd go next door to the pub, get a tray of beers, and be drinking beer as customers came in. It was a little intimidating, because it was like this old building that just felt really cool to walk into. And then you just got all these amazing clothes, and people were a little intimidated to come in, but it was really homely once you were in there.
Yeah.
And then it went bankrupt one night, and I remember I wasn't there that day when it happened, but the people that were working all took a couple of pieces each, and
Yep.
because it was gone bankrupt, so it wasn't really stealing.
No, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
The 5-finger discount, and like there was this Helmut Lang parka that was this green parka that was just so freaking cool. I think Liam Gallagher wore it on the cover of the Face magazine at the time, but I still wish I had that jacket to this day. Someone on my team just found it, because I told them this story, and they just found it on a website somewhere in Korea.
Yeah. Dang, that's so good. I mean, and I feel like with a lot of these things, so you're getting this sort of like fashion and like cultural like deep dive on your own. And because what I had first heard about you had joined Theory, and then so what, was there a lot before that, or?
Yeah, I've this sort of minimalist design ethos I've always had. Like, if I've got pictures from my graduate collection. And the other week I took a jacket from my graduate collection into work and was holding it to the design team and said, "Where's this jacket from?" Because literally my business partner, Marissa, was, "You've got to remake that jacket to put in the line because it looks like a Veilance jacket. It's in this Lamonta crinkled nylon. It's got an ASIM zip on it, a pouch pocket on the front."
So wait, you designed it when you were what?
I designed it in 2000.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, it's timeless. It's timeless.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. So sorry. Go ahead. They said you got to make it.
She was like, Marissa was like, you should remake that jacket and put it in the line. And it's not a nice thing to do that to your designers and be like, "Here's this jacket, copy this and put this in the line." So I wouldn't do that, but it made me realize that my path has been always based around this very minimalist approach to designing clothes. Like I was at Calvin Klein. I went from Calvin to Theory. I went to work at Rogan for a year on Loom State. Sustainable brand.
Yeah.
Which was,
I remember,
super fun.
Rogan was like the jeans for a lot of people. It's like Brad Pitt wore like Helmut Lang, which blew everyone's mind because the jeans were like $300 or $400. Rogan, which was like at some point $500 jeans. Then he did that line with Bono. What was it called? Edun, which was like nude spelled backwards. And then, I mean, that was like the era of like very, very expensive jeans and, paper denim and cloth and all this stuff. But
I think Rogan sort of
he did it.
He reinvented denim at the time.
Absolutely. And so you were there.
Yeah. So I just was there for a year. Like Rogan's a great guy, him and his business partner, Scott. And I'd been in the corporate world. I'd been burned out at Calvin. And I was like, I'm just going to make art. So I spent a lot of time making art myself. So that's a practice I've been in for a long time. Because I kind of look at what I do with clothing. I compartmentalize that. I'm not making art in clothing. I'm business minded when I'm making clothing. I'm practically minded when I'm making clothing. I look at it in a more structured way, and then I'll make art. I write. I do other projects. I've made music, but we probably won't go into that because it's not that good. That's not fair.
No, I know what you're saying. It's okay. I know what you're saying.
It's
you need to do things to make a living, and
I learned a lot.
Yeah,
I learned a lot.
Understood.
And then I started dating a professional musician 3 months after we started the band, and then it was like, "Oh man, what are you doing?"
Like, I'm so far behind.
Calvin, really structured. Then I burned out from doing that job. It was crazy, 11, 12 at night, working, busting it. And it was a very commercial part of Calvin. Mm-hmm. And then I went to work for Rogan and then took that job on. And then I was like, am I just going to try and make art and try and make something of making art? But I knew that that's not really a viable option. My father was an art teacher growing up, and probably that allowed me to not tread a traditional path. Mm-hmm. And think differently. But then I got a call about a job at Theory, and I'd always admired Theory a lot. And on the women's side, it was pretty mature. But on the men's side at the time, it had some bones, but they weren't all put together yet. Mm-hmm. And what I've really liked to do at brands is like think about the whole picture and try and create some rules and some code behind it and try and understand why it exists and really think about who's going to wear it. Because like I was saying earlier, it's about the practicality of clothing to me that makes sense. I don't want to make clothes that people aren't going to wear. Yeah. I want people to fall in love with clothing and it becomes part of their life. And I always use this term that, I want to make clothes that enhance the personality of someone, not create the personality of someone.
Ooh.
So that's sort of always been my ethos to some degree.
Where do you think that came from? Because I think that's, in a way, and I say this in a very admirable way, like it shows a bit of humbleness, but more confidence. Because for many people, and I've talked about this for years, like I kind of didn't know who I was. And so I would buy all these brands because I wanted them to speak for me, And I mean, I used to work and wear a bunch of Tom Brown. And this, by the way, for the record, there's no shots at any of these brands, but I was like, oh, this is who I am. And then I was like, no, actually, I'm really into like Tom and Jan, like Boris Bijan Sabri and Rick Owens, and I'm wearing this. And I was like, I don't know if this is me either. And then I'm wearing, I switched to these other brands, or I'm all Visvim and all this stuff. And so I like am jumping all over the map. And the whole time, it's really in this like hedonistic pursuit of just to try to understand who I am. And eventually, it was probably only the past few years, like I turned 40 this year or last year. And I was like, oh, I'm just a dad with 2 kids, and I'm just trying to make a living and take care of my family. And I'm like, I think I can just wear this brand or this brand because I like it. I don't have to try to tell other people in the industry that like I'm smart, or that I know about, Bauhaus, or, that I'm also aware of this, other designer that everyone cares about. But it's something that I really struggle with. And I tell a lot of people about this. I'm like, look, go wear all these other things. But if you make that brand your own identity, you might never know who you are in the process. But for you to lean on that at the very beginning, something must have changed early in your life that made you be okay with that.
I think being humble was ingrained into me when I was young, when I was growing up, and not being showy. I think that that was always the thing. Like, I've never really worn things with massive branding on them ever.
Yeah.
There was, when I first moved to New York in 2000, like, I'd wear Stussy t-shirts for sure. And when I was at college, I'd wear Stussy t-shirts. So that was probably a brand that I didn't mind being associated with. And I was okay to wear that, different brand to it is today. But, they used to have that amazing store in Soho back then, the double level one. But I was lucky when I was at college and I worked for a few brands. We had a year. It was a 4-year course, a sandwich course. And for a year, you had to do internships. And the brands I was lucky enough to work for, it was John Rocha, who's Simone Rocha's dad. That shows, like, I think she'd just been born at that point of time. And I went to Ireland and lived there for 4 months and worked on their collection. And I worked for a brand called Copperwheat Blundell. And then I worked for Griffin. And so I worked for these 3, and they were all amazing brands, amazing people, amazing experience. And, I learned so freaking much. But the brands that I worked for were not about showing labels. My growing up wasn't about showing labels. I love music, but I buy band t-shirts a lot when I go and see a show.
Same.
But I don't wear them because I have a hard time being associated with that one thing, because it's sort of labels you a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've always felt like I'm a bit more fluid than that, because I like to play in all these different disciplines. I don't, I want to understand what I don't know at the same time as what I do. And I think I'm quietly curious about things. Mm-hmm. And sort of the polarizing nature of the world that we're living in today challenges me a bit, because people are taking one side or the other, but you have to like think about why someone else might go the way that they're going. Because if you don't try and understand the way someone else is going, you can't really be true, I don't think. I think
sounds like you're speaking about empathy.
Yeah. And look, you're like talking about how you're trying to figure out who you were. Yeah. I've got some years on you, and I've got no idea really. Like, I'm trying each day, and like each day I try and be a better person. But like, I've come to this level of peace with myself now that when I go to bed at night, I'm like, I would just try and be better tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Because today was today and tomorrow is going to be tomorrow. I can't really change tomorrow. That's not to say I don't like live in the past really badly and it haunts me.
Yeah,
it does.
We're all still human.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. I'm really good at beating myself up around that. But with clothing design, it's the same. Like, you just have to keep going. And like, what I like about clothing design, I've been doing it a long time, but you just have to keep going. Like, there's another season that you have to deliver. You can't procrastinate on it. Like, if I'm making art, if I'm working on a painting in my studio, there's no timeline. I can do whatever I want. Nobody's judging it apart from myself. And, that's a torturous process and a beautiful process. It goes both ways. But when I'm working with a team designing clothes, or being an editor and curator of some amazing people's work, which is really what I do these days. Like the design team, merchandising team, the production team that I work with at Veilance are so incredible that like I'm thrown all these ideas and I have to somehow work with those pieces to like curate and edit and try and keep it on a path that has a point of view and a vision to it. But I also get challenged by them all the time. And so I can't be rigid in my thoughts.
But I mean, it sounds like in a lot of ways, look, not that I discount your previous experiences, but like Veilance is like the epitome and summary of all the different stuff that you've gone in, because especially with the tools that you have in front of you now in terms of the production, the technical design, just the textiles alone. I mean, it to me, it feels like it's the most advanced form of, and we haven't even discussed distribution, but just like the most advanced form of what clothes can be in, the 21st century.
Definitely. I loved my time at Theory, and we pushed the boundaries of what we were doing there because we used amazing fabrics.
Mm-hmm.
We were making this fashion, but utilitarian clothing that like transcended wearer, which we get to do at Veilance too. Like, and the same thing at Lululemon, which I enjoyed most of my time there. But with all three of these brands, and especially now when I look at the rack of clothes that is behind us, I like to think of a 25-year-old wearing these pieces as much as a 65-year-old wearing these pieces.
Yeah.
And to me, that's really exciting because if you're just, it's a lot easier to just make a jacket for a 25-year-old or just for a 65-year-old.
Sure.
But when you can make something that transcends, then it has to be really smart, but really simple at the same time. And that sort of turns me on being able to do that. Like we do that with the women's line here and we do that with the men's line. And, there's so many intricate details that we put into something that when someone's like investigating these pieces, they're like, holy cow, how did you do that? Because it's like a math problem with the pattern making.
It's exceptional. Yeah. I mean, and I'll, like for an example, for a lot of people that make jackets, you have, there's a pretty standard pattern, right? But your guys' pattern making, prioritizes movement. It's kind of hard to find the seams in some of these things. I mean, just the armhole thing alone that we were looking at and just how making that quarter panel underneath. But also, I mean, the biggest other thing I want to hit at too is in this time of like, mass consumerism, like I have Veilance that's 7 years old.
Oh yeah. At least, yeah.
Yeah. And it's fine. I still wear it, there's stuff that like, I have this like Veilance. It's like a very, very thin like layer piece and it has a hood on it. And it is like my de facto running, piece when I go running in like cold weather. And it's still there. It's still fine. And so it's not also that like, oh, you got to hit everyone every season and everyone needs to get all this stuff. It's like you can buy some of these things and they will last for a very, very long time, versus this, you talk to someone and they're like, yeah, I got this, and then move on next year or whatever, and I'm not promoting that in any way, but these are timeless design objects.
Yeah, Arc'teryx and Veilance is
absolutely
built on making this product that, we have a lot of sustainable principles with the product that we're making. With all of our raw materials and the development we do. But one of the biggest underlying factors is can't kill me. Like our product is so strong and durable and will live with you for a very long time. And people get real tiresome with clothes, and then that's part of the challenge of fast fashion, I guess. But the product is so durable that really you should be passing it down to other people. Like that's the beauty of the product that we have. It really sort of just lives hard.
Yeah,
but it doesn't look hard. Like the way I kind of got into Arc'teryx was when I was at Theory. I always rode a bike. I was one of those crazy people riding the fixed gear bike in Manhattan for a long time.
Oh boy,
living in Brooklyn, bombing over the bridge.
Yeah.
Getting chased by the police, going to my job at Theory.
Wait, hold on. Why were you getting chased by the police?
Because I came off the Williamsburg Bridge, which at that time you could like fly straight off of the bridge.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes.
But now they've put bollards up, so you can't do it anymore.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
So you'd kick into the road like on a fixed gear bike, and then you would just like bust it. because you didn't want to get hit by the cars, and you'd be watching the cars
I
all the
too
way
have
down
done
the
this.
bridge
Yes.
and tracking to see whether you could jump into the road.
Okay.
And then I'm like flying down there, like bust through the red lights, and then the sirens start going behind me, and I'm like, no, not today. And like, so I'm like looking around, and I'm like, okay, go down a one-way street. I can't remember which street it was on the right of Delancey, and cops follow me down the one-way street with their sirens going. And then there's a garbage truck, and I hop up onto the curb, bust it around the garbage truck, and I've never ridden to work so fast in a way that I would never normally go in my life. And then I get to work, and it's a day of a creative director at fashion.
Yeah, there you go.
The fashion house, and I'm like, okay, but I was probably wearing an Arc'teryx jacket as I was being chased by the cops, because I used to wear an Arc'teryx jacket all the time, like on my bike, because it would see me through all the seasons.
Yeah. So
I'm not suggesting that people do this at home.
But so, you were saying like how that kind of pushed you, your introduction more and because you are fairly new-ish at Arc'teryx and Veilance. And so when did you come on board?
Yeah, I've been with Veilance for about 2 years nearly.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like that. It feels like I've been with the brand for a long time already.
Well, thankfully, because you knew the brand and were using the brand before.
Yeah, I was intimate with the brand, and I've always admired the brand. So it's a brand that I believe in. So I feel like I'm sort of a gatekeeper to the brand, but I also see that my job is to evolve the brand into now versus it just having it sit where it was. And I'm lucky as the creative director to be able to work on the brand side of things and store development side of things and, all these other projects that we get into. And I also work on the leadership team of the company with the Arc'teryx leaders. So it's a beautiful job. Arc'teryx is full of like amazing people, and there's little ego there, which makes it sort of a pleasure to be in. We also spend so much time at work, and I've worked in every different scenario possible. But part of why Veilance suits me is because it suits me professionally, but it suits me personally. I spend a lot of time traveling, but which keeps me away from home a bit too much sometimes. But it is a job that I align with the values of the company. At the same time, like they have a philosophy, a mantra, I guess, that is called Leave It Better. And Leave It Better is really this. I was onboarding at the company, and they started talking about Leave It Better. And I've spent years doing yoga and meditation and all this sort of thing. And I was like, this is super meaningful. When you're being indoctrinated into the company and you're being told Leave It Better, means that it transcends you. Like you're only a vessel for a while in this, because when you leave, you're supposed to, like, I won't be a Veilance forever,
Yeah.
It will, I hopefully leave it in a better condition than when I got there. And then someone else keeps moving it. And that principle, to me, it really sort of lit me up when I heard that, because it felt like I was in the right place.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I feel like too with, because sometimes, there might be someone listening and they're like, oh, I mean, come on, that sounds,
Tripe.
Yeah. And it's like, get out of here. But I feel like, there's people, they'll occasionally have two different mindsets. And one is just like totally nomadic and but with these like hard ingrained sensibilities of just, I got to make the world a better place. And I'm just going to exist and live in a commune and completely separate myself. But for me, so much of my life, because I've tried that, is being around others and being in a community. And if I can be in this community and I can make something that I'm proud of, and I can make that world a better place, and then I can also inspire other people in that process. I mean, that seriously is like my entire goal in life, and yes, again, sure, roll your eyes on it, but like it is so, so important to me. And then if I get to do it by having a ton of fun and learning about clothes and meeting other people and understanding like, where people's convictions are in their design and how they're also inspiring me, like this is literally all I want to do.
Yeah, when I say that, it's not like I'm trying to be preachy or bullshitty. That's not where I'm coming from. It's like that principle of Leave It Better really felt truthful when I heard it at a company, and everything and the actions I've seen within it feel truthful. And where you're talking about community is this like overplayed word right now,
It
where
really
like
is.
it's tiresome because it means so much. And I just learned how much it means like in the last 10 years, because like I lived in New York for a really long time.
Yeah.
And like had so much community around me. And then I now live in LA, and I have probably the least community I have around me. I have some very important people around me, people that are very important to me. But I'm definitely like the loneliest I've ever been, community-wise. I like LA is a fairly lonely place.
It is. You don't accidentally bump into people. You go from your home to your car to your office. You don't get the accidental bump in, which it sounds like you're seeking that out as you're going to shows.
Yeah. Yeah. And just being around a community of people, you don't necessarily have to be talking to everyone. If you go to a show, you know you're around like-minded people.
Yeah.
And like actually at Arc'teryx, it feels like that every time I fly to Vancouver and I'm in the office. I feel like I'm around like-minded people when I'm with my design team. It's funny, I've always called design teams like Jimi Hendrix had the band of gypsies. And I've always been like, the design team's always like a band of gypsies.
Yeah.
Because they're all different people with different perspectives and come from different places. But the beauty of it is that weird community that you put together creates something very special and something that could never be reproduced.
You mean it's okay to hear people around you that have different perspectives on life?
You know, it'd be in the world we live in today.
Well, exactly.
I'm not
That's
sure
what I was
it's
getting
necessarily promoted all the time.
No,
but that would be another podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, we at Veilance, we're trying to create a rounded brand now, outside of just the product, like I was talking about, and through doing that, there's this community of people that love Veilance, love Arc'teryx. Like in the showroom this morning, these 4 young guys they all live in Manchester, I believe, but they're from all over. They were so excited to be here. They're probably highly influential, like people with tons of followers. But I'm like, who are these guys? But they knew everything Veilance had been doing for years. They were so excited. They're from All Terrain.
Oh.
And they were so excited about what they were seeing. They knew the model names. I was talking to them and they were beaming. They were trying everything on, and it was so invigorating to see that. And when we had the music event the other night, you had all these different people from different walks of life, but they were working in fashion, but in different ways.
Yeah.
And it really felt like a community that had all come together, and it stripped away the bullshit, and it felt really pure. And I guess, as you get older, you're just I'm looking for pure things.
Same.
I've never been a designer in the clothing design with my own label or designing from this sort of self perspective. I've always worked for these brands, and I love working for brands where I get to inject a bit of me into the brand and my philosophies, and also take on a responsibility from the brand that I'm working with. And that's sort of this equilibrium you try and find in the sort of design that I've always done, that you can't allow yourself to be too important in the picture. You actually have to allow the consumer to be the most important part of the picture.
I mean, I love that you say that, because there's a lot of designers in which it's ego-led design, and those designs are forced through because this person in leadership or design, creative, whatever you want to say, they're like, no, it doesn't matter. This is my decision, and if you're not on board, you get out. And there are brands that have done that, and they exist, and that's fine. But to be able, especially with you having such a long, illustrious career where it's not solely about you, but it seems like you're doing pretty good. I mean, it seems like you're content, you're happy, and being at that level of peace, but not being completely driven by your own ego, I mean, is really, again, that's the stuff that I'm trying to chase more than ever.
I get to flex different muscles with different things that I do, right?
Of course.
So you can't work for a big company. Well, I think your run is limited at a big company if you go in really ego driven. You no matter what, it doesn't matter if it's a high-end fashion house or whatever it might be, because I don't understand why and how people could come from a perspective and not wanting other people to like them. it's too important to me. I don't want people to think I'm a dick. Like, I want
Yeah.
people to gel with me, and I want like, as a creative director, there's these old school connotations that you're floating above everybody else.
Yeah.
And that pisses me off, because
Yeah.
you're just another human being with a bunch of great human beings, and we're all together doing what we do.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've just spent over a week here with an amazing team of people, and every person made it successful, not me. Like, and we're carrying the work of all the people in the office. So it's like, I don't know. It just, like, I think that's why I took that path. Like, if I go and paint a painting in my studio, which I'm not successful within the way that success is deemed successful to other people, perhaps because it's not showing in the Gagosian. But I can flex different muscles over there and do that, you know? It's all about the balance to me of what we get to do, and like letting off steam how you let off steam. I got to go for a surf, or go for a run, or go snowboarding. Like, I've got to do these things too.
Yeah.
I can't just talk about fashion all day long. It would really bore the tears out of me, because, like you said at the beginning, it's about music, it's about art, it's about, you know, the first thing that Ali and I did when we got here was go and see the Gerhard Richter show.
Okay.
At
the
Foundation Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
Because I needed to see those paintings. I told myself if I came to Paris and didn't go and see the Gerhard Richter show, like, it was an unsuccessful trip. And
Yeah.
so we went and did that.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So you have a Substack as well, right? Where, you know, you're showcasing and, you know, explaining more about other people or interviews. Like, could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I left my job at Lululemon, and the day I left, I'd been thinking about this project for a long time, and the first day after I left, like, I was feeling a little disheartened with humanity, and I was like, okay,
It's easy to feel that way right now.
yeah, there was so much going on in the world. I'd just come out of a job after 7 years, and, you know, you're getting older, you're wondering where you are in life and what's happening, and, you know,
I know that.
the midlife critique sets in. And I don't call it a crisis, I call it a critique. But, you know, with the things I've been talking about, I don't profess to have any answers, and I don't profess to be at full peace with myself or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying, right? And like we all are. And I got more curious about, you know, the human psyche and an exploration of like the human condition. And I was like, how can I sort of think about this in a way where I'm helping other people? Because I think about myself when I was like 15-year-old kid getting bullied at school, and like it shaped who I am today. Like, I still am a bit of that kid, and that's sometimes why I react the way that I do, and I am who I am. And I was like, what tool could I have used when I was that kid? And I started this project of interviewing people, and I've interviewed over 130 people for this project, and I asked them all 10 of the same questions, and the last question that I asked them was individual to them, that I made up during the interview. But they're very simple questions, but they evolve as they go along, but they grow and grow as you go through these 10. And they make people really think about who they are. Some of these people maybe have been through therapy and maybe haven't. And to ask these questions, for some people, it was like them going to therapy for the first time. For other people, they were comfortable talking about things. For other people, they weren't that comfortable talking about things. And that's part of the project, is like, some people are willing to go there and some people aren't. Like, there's amazing stories about humanity in it, that people's coming out stories and them talking about when they came out. And that might be someone when they were like, they knew it since they were a kid. And it might be someone when they were 52 telling their wife, the church, the high school they worked in, and their 4 kids one day, that they were gay and they'd hidden that their whole life. Or it's about the menopause and people having challenges with that, or insecurities, but then the beauty of life too. And so I just started interviewing people. And as I was interviewing more and more people, I was starting to get these commonalities, but then I was starting to get the subjectiveness of people also. And also realizing that people don't get asked a lot of questions, and everyone's sort of wrapped up in their own shit, that they don't really ask people things about themselves.
Yeah.
So it sort of evolved into kind of I think, a beautiful project. So I'd interview people. I had to do it in person. I'd shoot a photo of them afterwards.
Oh, wow.
And you can see in their eyes, some people have been crying, like gone through different situations. Like within the 3 years I did the project, 2 of the people died. So,
Jesus.
yeah, God rest their souls. But yeah, Cedric and Dan, we lost them along the way. And like, they're incredible people. And, you know, the last question I asked Dan, which was made up on the spot, is, are you afraid of death? And then he died. So this project to me transcends, like, just, and it was really important to me. And then it showed me a lot about where we are in the world right now, because I did it. I found an amazing book publisher in England, and they took it on, and they were so excited about this project. And they were like, this is going to be huge. They said, oh, you know, this will get the same distribution as Rick Rubin's book and all of this sort of thing. They thought,
yeah,
right? It was an amazing agency out of London. And then they sent it out to all these publishers, and every publisher loved it, and every publisher turned it down because they were like, we can't guarantee that we'll sell 5,000 copies because he doesn't have a platform and he's not an influencer. Because I've never wanted to be an influencer. It's not who I am. Like,
So
you've probably heard that today. And like, I was doing it for, you know, I wanted to tie it back to a mental health charity, and, you know, to like that stuff's super important to me, because those are the challenges of myself and people around me. And like, I think it's not spoken about enough. So anyway, this project, like, not to make it gloomy, it's
No, I understand.
It's about love, really. And it's deliberately called Holding Hands with Strangers.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, I'll link it and, you know, share about it in the pod when we do it. But Ben, thank you so much for your time, especially during an extremely busy Paris Fashion Week. But thank you for your humanity here. I mean, this is in your candor. It's very beautiful. It was an honor having you on, and I'd love to keep chatting.
It was an honor to be here. I was like, when we were talking in the showroom the other day, I was like, I guess in life, like, anything that makes you a little bit nervous and makes you a little bit excited and makes you a little bit scared is going to be good.
It's a good place.
Yeah. So I'm super happy to have done this with you. And
oh, my pleasure. All right. Cheers. Thanks.
You've been listening to Blammo. Our show is produced by Blammo Media. We're edited by Amar Lal, and our theme music, as always, by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. If you like what you heard, you know the drill. Share the pod with a friend, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, do all the deals, you know, the stuff you do when you like things. Follow us on Instagram for all the hot content. And if you want to talk to us, we'd love to hear from you. You can send us an email at info@blammopod.com. Yes, we read them. Yes, we respond to them. Last but not least, if you want to hang out, join the Blam Fam. Visit patreon.com/Blammo, where we have tons of exclusive episodes featuring the Triple J Show, or the JJJ Show, and Die Workwear, hosted by Derek Guy and Peter Zatolo. Last but not least, our amazing Slack community. It's all in there. All right. See you soon.